Hey guys, my name is Alex, and this is lesson 6 for 7th grade math. For the first part here, you need to find the slope, so just plug in the point. So for number 1, it would be 2 minus 2 over 6 minus 1, which is 0 over 5, or just 0. For the second question here, just plug it in like before. So it's 1 minus 3, 2 minus 7, equals -2 over -5, which just simplifies to 2 over 5. Still one more problem. Number 3 is a fraction here. Just be careful. So slope is 1 over 4 minus -2 over 4 minus -3, which is equal to 1 over 4 plus 2 and 4 plus 3. That's equal to 9 over 4 over 7, or just 9 over 28. Okay, for the second part here, you need a graph system of inequalities. And for a system of inequalities, you need to be careful with the signs. If it's greater than or less than without the equal to part, then you're going to have a dashed line for your graph because it doesn't include this value that you're graphing at. And if it's greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, you're going to have a solid line. Okay. So for number 1, you could look at it as if it's just an equal sign. So for graphing x is greater than -5, since it's just greater than, it's going to be a dashed line at x equals -5. So we graph a dashed line at x equals -5. Right? And since this is greater than, the solution is going to be everything greater than -5. Okay, so you could just kind of shade it in like that. Now, for the second one, it's x is less than or equal to 2. So it's less than or equal to, so it's going to be a solid line. Okay, so a solid line at x equals 2. So you could draw a solid line at x equals 2. And since it's less than, then it's going to be all the points that are less than 2, which is just the left side of the graph. Okay, and we do one more. Let's do number 2. So for number 2, y is less than or equal to 2x minus 1. So it's already simple because both the variables are on one side. So think of this like your normal slope-intercept form equation. Y equals 2x minus 1, and also x equals 2. And this is less than or equal to, so it's a solid line at this equation. So to graph this, just start with the y-intercept to make it easy. So point at -1, and slope is 2. So just graph it like normal. And you get this solid line right here. And since it's less than or equal to, it's going to be all the points to the left side of the graph. Now for x is greater than 2, it's just greater than without the equal to sign. So here it's going to be a dashed line at x equals 2. So you put a, oops, we put a dashed line at x equals 2. Okay, and it's greater than 2, so you could shade in everything on the right hand side of the graph. Okay. Now for the next part, it's just going to be the opposite of what we just did. So let's start with number 1. There's one line right here, and you could see is that y equals 4. And there's another line right here, which is that y equals negative 2. And both of these are dashed. And to figure out how to find like the inequality, look at where it's shaded. So for this first line, this red line right here, they shaded above it, which means it's going to be greater than 4. And since it's dashed, it's just going to be y is greater than 4. And you don't include the equal to sign. For this one, since it's shaded below right here, you know that it's going to be less than negative 2. So it's just y is less than negative 2. And that's your system of inequality. And let's do one more problem. Let's try number 2. Number 2 has one line right here, this red line, that isn't a vertical or horizontal line, right? So you could start with the y-intercept, right? Just to make it easy, which is right here at 0, comma 3. And the slope, could look at the rise over run. The slope is 1 over 2, right? So, the equation is just going to be y equals 1/2 x plus 3. But since it's a system of inequality, you have to figure out which side the inequality points to. So since it's shaded above, that's going to be greater than, and it's a solid line, so it's equal to. So y is greater than or equal to 1/2 x plus 3. Okay, and for the next one, this blue line right here, it's much simpler. This line right here is at x equals 4. So it's a dash line, right? So you know that it's going to be greater than or less than without the equal to sign. And it's shaded on the left side, which means that it's just going to be less than. So x is less than 4. That is your answer for this problem. For this next part, it's just putting together a whole bunch of lines in one graph. So let's try number 2 right here. X plus y is greater than 3, x minus y is less than 2, and x is less than 3. So treat it, like I said, like a normal equation. It just makes your life easier. So you could move the x to the other side, so it's y is greater than negative x plus 3. And for this one, you can move the x to the other side. So negative y is less than negative x plus 2. Isolate the y by dividing both sides by negative 1. And don't forget to flip the sign because you're dividing by negative 1. So it becomes x is greater than x minus 2. Okay. And this one, the x is already on its own, so you could just leave a b. To start graphing this, like I said, think about it just like a normal slope-intercept equation. Okay. So for the first one right here, y is greater than negative x plus 3. To start graphing this, you could just plot the y-intercept. It's already given to you. So it's at 3 right here. It's 0, comma 3. And the slope is negative 1. Right? So you could plot a few points. And since it's just greater than, you know that it's just going to be a dash line. Right? So dash line right here. And since it's greater than, you shade everything above. Right? Because these are all the points that are greater than this line, this value. Okay, and to graph this next inequality right here, y is greater than x minus 2, do the same thing as here. Start with the y-intercept, which is just 0, comma, negative 2. And the slope is 1. So here, graph the y-intercept, slope is 1, plot up a few points, and just like the line before, it's just greater than symbol. So, it's just going to be a dash line, right? So come over here and you can graph this dashed line. And it's also greater than, so just shade everything greater than this line. All the y values greater than this line. And for our last line in this problem is x less than 3, right? Done this before. So it's just a less than sign, which means it's going to be a dash line, right? So dash line at x equals 3, which is right here. Okay, and it's less than, so you could shade everything to the left-hand side of your graph. And that is how you graph systems of inequalities.